What's going on, guys? It's Dakota from More Than the Ride. I wanted to come do this video because I told you 8 months ago that I would do a review video of my seat and things that I took with me cross country, and I just haven't done it yet. So here we are. We'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about some of the things that I took with me out there that I thought was really awesome and that really helped me out a lot. But there's also a couple things that I wish I would have had, so I can just give you, a heads up before you start your trip. And then just talk about a couple little things that I learned just going across. It was definitely an educational experience, and I know that there's lots of folks that would like to do those types of things. So hopefully, anything that I say here, if you happen to see this video, is helpful when you start your cross-country trip. The first thing I want to say is that I am not sponsored by any of these companies or any of these items. These are just things that I bought in an effort to design my bike in the way that I like to ride, which is long haul, being on the bike for hours at a time. So I set my bike up with these items because it was good for me. And once again, I am not sponsored by any of these people. However, if they do run across this video and they want to, reach out, by all means do so. But with that, I'll start with the seat. My seat is a Saddlemen SDC Professional Series gripper. And I picked this seat specifically for a few reasons. So the cover that's on the seat, the gripper portion, if you will, is supposed to keep you in place and not allow you to slide around as you're riding. Mostly it's supposed to be for aggressive type riding. I don't ride that aggressively, but it is nice to know that when I'm in the seat, I'm in the seat. Now, full honesty, when I first take off, I do slide back in the seat a little bit, but that little step up right there, it's kind of a good backrest, so it stops me. I don't really have to move forward all that much. The seat is not necessarily just a foam cushion. There's also gel insert inside, and it's super comfy. On my cross country, I think my longest day was about 670, 680 miles, and I did just fine. Just being, a little bit beat up from being in the wind and whatnot, but the seat was great. But with that gel, I do have a little bit of a warning. So leaving your bike outside in direct sunlight, that gel will heat up, and it does not dissipate heat quickly. So I would suggest having a seat cover or having a bike cover if it's going to stay outside in the sun, especially places out west like Arizona or New Mexico. The seat with the gel, it doesn't really take that long to break in. I think it took me about 300 miles or so before I would say it was broke in and it was comfortable for me. Another thing that the seat has, the front of the seat is narrow, more narrow than the stock seat, which for me, I'm 5'8" with a 32-inch inseam. So with the narrower front of the seat, it moves me a little bit closer to the controls, and I can still flat foot with a comfortable seat. So all of those things were the reasons why I went with the Saddlemen seat over other brands. Another thing that I had installed before I went on the trip, it was a lesson learned from when I was coming back from Daytona last year, is hand guards. Now these hand guards that I have are the color matched hand guards from Advent Black, and they were perfect. They kept the wind off my hands, the rocks, the bugs. As I was going through the rain, I wasn't getting pelted in the knuckles. It was awesome. These particular hand guards also have removable vents, so those little black rubber pieces in the middle, those can come out. So you can, if you're riding in the summertime, you can still get a little bit of airflow, but you still have the protection over your hand. For me, it was something that I wanted to do because when I was coming back from Daytona, I got behind a couple semis, caught a couple rocks to the knuckles, and it is not fun. Not even a little bit. The next thing is I had swapped out. I had a Lexan communication device previously, and I swapped it out for a Cardo PackTalk Edge. That thing worked amazingly. It had the sound was great as I was going down the interstate, going down the highway. I am still learning how to do it, but there is voice recording that you open up the app on your phone and start voice recording, and you can just speak into your microphone through your helmet, and then through the Cardo it will record your voice so that you can load it into your videos or your reels or whatever you're doing, which is really convenient. It also has voice controls, so as I'm riding I can tell it, hey Cardo, change song. Hey Cardo, turn the music down. Hey Cardo, turn the music up. I can answer my phone through the Cardo. All of that, I never have to take my hands off the handlebars, which is really convenient when you're in a place that you're not familiar with and you're trying to pay attention to everything that's going on around you. You still have control of the audio or your phone or your directions or any of those things. That's what it can do. Your device that you have, your cell phone, your cameras, whatever, is going to depend on the model, but the Cardo does come with the voice control features, which are really neat. Another thing that really was helpful on this trip is that the Cardo is waterproof and dustproof. So there were a few times on my way out to Arizona that I got caught in the rain, and then of course, like every trip anyone has ever done, an hour and a half from home it is raining. So I got caught in the rain a few times and it never had an issue. The charging port has a nice rubber cover that goes over the top that seals, and it keeps water and dust out of it, which is really convenient. And then for the folks that like to do like group rides and things like that, it does have mesh technology, so you can link up with up to 15 riders. They don't necessarily have to have a Cardo, as long as they have mesh technology in their communication device. The Cardo will link up with up to 15 riders, and it has a range of almost a mile. So if you've got a large group of people, all of you can communicate. I think Cardo to Cardo, you can share music, you can do all kinds of things like that. You can also, if you're a moto vlogger, you can record the conversation that's happening with you and whoever else is on the communication. Just make sure you ask them for permission before you do it and post it to the internet. The next thing I want to talk about is, since we mentioned rain already, is rain gear. So the rain gear that I have is the Harley full speed reflective rain gear. I think that's what it's called. It is a little bit pricey. So I believe I paid somewhere around $180 for my set. But like most people, I would assume most people, when they first start riding and touring, you need rain gear, so you buy the cheap stuff off Amazon or wherever, and it doesn't last very long. So I had done that. I had bought stuff off of Amazon and put it on, and the first time I threw my leg over the motorcycle, it ripped right down the leg. So I bought these. The key things there is, so it zips up the front and then it velcros over the zipper, which is really important, and something you don't realize is if it doesn't do that, all of this will reflect rain, but then that zipper is just going to soak it up, so your shirt underneath is going to get wet. It also has a built-in hood that tucks down into the top itself. It has its own little compartment. It's got reflective material on the logo, ribbing on the arms, and then across the back where it says Harley Davidson, it is also reflective. The pants have a heat shield type technology, I guess, in the calves, to keep it from melting to your exhaust, which was another problem I had with the cheaper stuff that I had bought from other places. I'm not going to say that it won't melt, but the way that they have designed it is to try to keep it from melting to your exhaust. One thing that I never really used, but I was super grateful to have it, is an emergency gas can. So I tried to find this link on Amazon so I could post it below, but for some reason I can't find it. It is a 1 gallon fuel can that fits inside of the saddlebag. So I had it on my right saddlebag in the back the whole time, and it was very reassuring, especially as I was going across places like New Mexico or northern Arizona, where there's not a lot of civilization, or not close together anyway. It was nice to know that I had that in case I needed it. Luckily, I never had to use it, but it was good emergency supply. The gloves that I used going across, I went across in July, so it was nice and steamy when I left South Carolina, and then of course it was nice and hot when I got into Arizona. The gloves I use are from Thrash and Supply. I have their Stealth, the black with the TSC logo, and then of course the ones that I wore the most were the white ones. As you can see, they're not really white anymore, but these gloves are super comfortable. You get a little bit of airflow through the top, and the riding across the palms, it does a nice job of like keeping, sticking to the grips so your hand's not slipping off, especially as you're starting to sweat. That was super helpful as I was rolling across as well. Now, something that I wish I would have had on my trip is earplugs. Now, I know that sounds counterintuitive because I was just talking about the Cardo and how the music is super good, but I wish I would have had earplugs. Doing long distances, even in places that aren't super windy, but just the highway wind that you are subjected to as you're rolling. At the end of the day, when I would stop where I was going, I would have a nice ringing in my ears. So I would suggest, if you're going to be doing any type of long haul touring type biking, that you would get earplugs that are designed for motorcycles. I mean, I would assume that most earplugs would work, but you're going to have a helmet on. It might be beneficial to find something that is designed specifically for what it is we're trying to do. Another thing that I wish I would have thought about before embarking on this journey is the windscreen that I had on the Road Glide was the stock windscreen that came with it, which there's nothing wrong with it, but hours on the road, I wish that I would have put a taller windscreen on it. I do have a taller windscreen on the bike now. I have a Memphis Shades, but on the trip specifically, there was a few times, especially going across I-40, where not only do you have the wind as you're riding down the road, but you've also got the wind coming in from the side, which created this strange buffeting type action. So coming across 40 was rough at the end of the day. I could start feeling it in my neck and the back of my head. So I think having a taller windscreen would have helped with that. It would have helped push the air up and over instead of up into the top of my helmet. Those are the big things that I came away with as far as equipment going across. Some of the things that I learned, like I said, I left here in July. I got to Phoenix, Arizona in July, but my route on the way out led me through Albuquerque, and then from Albuquerque into Prescott, Arizona, so northern Arizona. What I did not anticipate was riding through the mountains in the high desert west of Albuquerque through Gallup, New Mexico, and into Prescott. It got cold in the morning. And because my plan was in July, the only piece of cold weather gear I brought was a hoodie, and it was not sufficient. I ended up stopping in Gallup, actually, at a Cracker Barrel just to warm up for a couple hours because I was freezing. So, a little piece of advice: if you're planning a trip through there, don't just focus on your starting point and your ending point. Look at all the places in between to see what kind of weather conditions you're going to encounter and pack accordingly. And as I say all of this out loud, I fully understand that that is common sense, and I should have done that, but I did not. Another thing that I learned going across was stop and take pictures. Even the dumb stuff, like, oh, there's a nice looking mailbox. Pull over, take a picture. As I was editing the videos over the last 2 weeks, just some of the scenery, I remember being there. I vividly. As I'm watching this video, I remember what I was listening to. I remember what I was thinking about. I remember how it smelled and how it felt. So capture those moments while you're going across. That's about all I got for my cross country, my equipment review, some things that I wish I brought with me, and just some random thoughts about going across. A little bit of advice. I hope anyone watching this video, if you're planning a long trip this riding season, please be safe. There's a lot of people out there that don't necessarily watch out for us, so keep your head on a swivel. But don't be afraid to go out there and see everything. Don't be afraid to go out and take pictures. Don't be afraid to go out and enjoy the scenery. Go someplace that you would never consider going, because I guarantee you, getting there on two wheels is going to be a completely different experience than just flying out there or loading up in a car. Alright, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.